Welcome to my homestead, y'all. I'm your host, Jenny Velicky, also known as the Funky Farm Girl. I'm working to create a home with a little farm, a little faith, a lot of food, and a bit of funky. I'm learning all about growing and preserving our food supply, raising chickens and children, and becoming more self-sufficient while leaning hard on Jesus. And I want to take you along for the ride. So grab yourself a cup of something wonderful and let's visit a while. Hey y'all, this is the Funky Farm Girl, episode 21, Seed Saving. I'm your host, Jenny Velicky, and I'm so glad you're here with me this week. Let me give you an update first on what's happening around our homestead. This week is our first week of school, so we have finally begun our classes. The girls are doing pretty well. We're making some adjustments to our schedule. We're getting used to getting up earlier. Even as homeschoolers, we don't sleep the day away. We still get up and we get our work done, so we have as much free time in the afternoon as we can. So I think all the girls are enjoying their classes and settling into their new routine. And I am also settling into new routines. So excited about the first week of school. We also, this weekend, consolidated all the chickens into one run. I did some stuff on the Insta stories this week about that on Saturday, but I didn't get up any final pictures because it was so late when we finally got it done. So be sure to check out my Instagram this week for updated pictures of all the chickens together. So we now have our 6 leghorns in with our 4 golden girls, and our black copper Marin Hazel, and our 4 little black chicks that are now about 8 weeks old. So the big thing at our house is, when are the golden girls going to start laying? They are right at 19 and a half weeks, and between 18 and 20 is when you usually get your first eggs. So we are excited for the 4 girls to begin laying along with the leghorns, and that will give us anywhere from 5 to 10 eggs a day, which we're super excited about. So this week I wanted to talk about seeds. I wanted to talk about why you should save them, how to do it, and then a little bit about planting seeds ourselves on a personal note. So this time of year, as we finish out the summer harvest and slow down the garden, hopefully doing some fall planting, it's also a time to start thinking about saving seeds to plant next spring. So why would we want to do that? As you're pulling stuff out of the garden and you're harvesting the big, beautiful tomatoes and cucumbers and squash and all those things, why would you want to take the time to save seeds when you could just buy them from the store? Number one, it saves money. Buying seeds is really less expensive than buying plants, starter plants from the store. Absolutely. I saved a lot of money by doing that this year, especially because I bought seeds over time and didn't wait until spring to get them. I ordered a category of seeds each month. One month I ordered all of my tomato seeds. One month I ordered all my brassica seeds. One month I ordered all the melons that I wanted to do. So from a budget standpoint, that was a great idea. But this year I'm saving as many seeds as I can, because saving seeds from this year's harvest is basically free. So even as inexpensive as buying seeds is, saving seeds is free. So, number one reason is it saves money. Number two, it ensures you have what you want to plant next year. There's a lot of talk in the gardening community right now about a possible seed shortage in the spring because, one, we've just had a crazy wonky year with gardens and the weather, and things have just been really weird, and so a lot of people's harvests are way different than normal. And number two, there's been an increase exponentially in the demand for seeds and starters and all those kinds of things. So there's really a belief that combined with the impact of COVID-19 shipping issues is going to mean that the usual supply is going to be even less than usual. So being proactive and saving seeds from the things that you grow, at least making sure that your basics are covered, would be a really wise thing to do. And the third reason, the seeds that you harvest from your produce are perfectly adapted to your climate. So when you go to buy seeds online or you buy them in the store, those seeds are generally adapted for whatever country you live in. So here in the U.S., if you buy broccoli seeds or cabbage seeds or marigolds or whatever it is, chamomile, calendula, cucumber, cantaloupe, they pick the one that grows the best overall in general for all of the different zones. But if you take those seeds and you plant them in your area, in your soil, in your specific climate, and you grow fruit that has adapted to the climate that it's growing in, and then you take seeds from that adapted fruit and you save those and you plant those next year, those seeds are already adapted to your climate and to your soil even more than the seeds that you would have bought at the store. And so not only does that give you a greater chance of success, but it gives you a greater chance at larger, healthier, more beautiful produce as a result from that. They're going to perform better than seeds that are developed just for major climate areas in general. So, now that we've talked about why, let's explore how to save some seeds. It's fairly simple. You're going to pick the item. You're going to scoop out or the seeds from something that has seeds inside of it, or maybe you might dry something until the seeds are ready to fall out of it. And then you make sure the seeds are fully dry. You put them in an envelope and you keep them in a cool, dry place until next season. That's the overall process. It's very, very simple. You could definitely get into a long rabbit trail of whether or not it is an open pollinated variety, whether or not it is an F1 hybrid, and whether or not it will produce true to seed and all those types of things. But really, the focus in doing this, especially this year, is will it produce food? So you may have, for example, I have a tomato that is ripening right now on my windowsill that grew with the rest of my Amish paste, but somehow was crossed with the purple Russian vine right across from it. And so I have a purple Roma tomato. I could take seeds from that and I could plant it. I have no idea what the tomato that produces from that would look like. It could be larger like a purple Russian. It could be a large red tomato. It could turn out to be a deeper purple Roma tomato. Really don't have any idea the specific character qualities of that tomato, but I do know that it would grow a tomato. And I do know that I can eat tomatoes. And so for this year, that is simple enough for me. Will I get seeds from ones that are obviously crossed? Probably not. that won't be one that I will save seeds from. I'll do my best to save seeds from things that I know are a pure form or a true type, but I'm not going to stress about whether or not it's an open pollinated or hybrid variety and whether or not it will produce true to form. I'm worried about producing food for next year, and so there's a lot that you can learn about the hybrids and the open pollinated versus not and those types of things. And Jess from Roots and Refuge Farms is a great resource. She's taught me what I know about seed saving, and so I will put a link to her YouTube channel and the video that she does on saving seeds and the ins and outs of that, particularly if you need a visual to go along with our chat today. But for this year especially, I just want to emphasize, don't worry about all those small details. This year we are focused on saving seeds to produce food. And if you can still eat it, then it's still a valuable seed, even if it may be a cross or not exactly true to type to what you were thinking it would be. So keeping that in mind, let's go over some things that we want to remember when we're saving seeds. Number one, you need to harvest seeds from fully mature fruits and vegetables. You don't want to pick puny little carrots or tiny little cucumbers or a tomato that's only half grown and is kind of funky looking. And you want the biggest, ripest, most mature things that you can find on your vines. For example, we had some okra on two of our plants that was a little bit hidden from me that I didn't see on Saturday morning. I don't normally pick on Sunday. And then I went out there Monday evening because I had been delayed. And when I went out there, there's these huge okra pods that are longer than my hand. And if you know anything about okra, when they get really big like that, they get very fibrous and woody, and they're not very good to eat. However, those are going to have the biggest, most mature seeds of all the okra that I would pick from that plant. And so, for those two okra, I made sure to scrape the seeds out of those, and I used the seeds from those to dry to save for next year's planting. So they weren't wasted. The rest of the fruit went into my compost bucket and will go right back into my soil. But those seeds, I was able to save those and put them aside for next year. Now, I will say, sometimes you're going to have fruit that produces really, really large by accident. For example, if you have a zucchini that's kind of hiding in the leaves, and by the time you find it, it's like a small baseball bat. Or you may have a cucumber that gets fairly large, or a tomato. But sometimes you may grow a specific fruit on your vine and say, this one here I'm not going to pick. I'm going to leave it so that it gets as big as it possibly can and as mature as it possibly can. And then I'll pick it and I'll save the seeds from that. And when you're saving seeds, it doesn't mean that the fruit or the vegetable itself is a total loss. A lot of times you can still eat what the rest of the fruit or vegetable is without any problem. Some of the times you're even saving seeds that would just be discarded otherwise. For example, with my Kajari melons, I usually scoop the inside out and give it to my chickens. So it's just that my biggest and most beautiful Kajaris this year, I scooped and saved the seeds from those. And then the ones that were a little smaller and not quite as mature and beautiful, those I gave the pulp from the inside of those to my chickens. So, harvest seeds from fully mature fruits and vegetables. And the reasons you want to do that is because you want it to produce large, beautiful fruit and vegetables. And if you're starting out with really puny seeds from really puny plants and produce, you're not going to produce anything large and beautiful from that. Large and beautiful plants, produce will produce seeds that produce large and beautiful fruit. So increase your odds of good produce by using fully mature fruits and vegetables. Number 2, if the seeds are wet within the produce, for example, with melons or okra or cucumber, or if they have slime on them like from okra, you want to scoop those out and put them into a jar and cover them with some water, so that there's enough room in the jar that the seeds are covered, but you have enough room to kind of pick it up and swirl it around. And you want to leave that on your counter where you'll see it for about 2 or 3 days. And the reason for that is that you want those seeds to ferment, and that protective coating that is surrounding each of those seeds will break down and slip off, and then the seed will be separated from it. Then you can strain out those seeds and you put them on a paper towel or a coffee filter and you leave them out to dry. And then once they're dry, you save those seeds. But it's really important that you remove that protective coating from that wet or slimy outer part of the seed, so that it has a higher chance of germinating. It can germinate with that on there, but it's more difficult. And especially if you're saving it for next year, you want to be sure to remove it, because that has moisture in it, and it could also cause your seeds to mold and not be any good for next year. So, that covers number 3 as well. Once you've soaked your wet seeds, you're going to want to put them on a paper towel or a coffee filter and let them dry completely. For your dry seeds, you're going to scoop them out and put them on a paper towel or a plate, and you let it dry completely. I use my fingers to kind of mix it and stir it a few times a day to increase the airflow and help them to fully dry. So I just run my hands through it and, crumble it or whatever, just to kind of get the air flowing between it. There are some things, like when my cilantro bolted and produced flowers, where I cut the flowers and I left them to dry, and once they dried, they dropped seeds, and I used those seeds to set aside to grow more cilantro next year. So sometimes there's a flower to the plant, like with carrots and cilantro and different herbs, where you need to let it flower and you need to let that dry, and then you need to let it release the seed, and then you take those seeds and that's what you plant for the next year. So, the key though for number 5 is to make sure that all your seeds are fully dry. You want to make sure there's no moisture left, because you don't want it to mold or decompose in any kind of way. You want it to be good and dry so that it will stay viable. Then you're going to take those and you're going to put them inside of an envelope or a Ziploc bag. It's very easy to find little seed envelopes or things like that on Amazon, or one of my friends on Instagram, Little House Living, has a printable seed packet that you can print out and put your seeds inside of and write on the outside what it is. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So very easy to find something to put them in, but put them inside of an envelope or a Ziploc bag. And then I keep those all inside of a larger Ziploc bag, and I keep it in my freezer. You're going to want to keep it in a cool, dry place. So it may be a freezer, it may be in your pantry, it may be in the refrigerator, but keep it somewhere where it will stay cool and it will stay dry, and then that way that it will stay fresh and it will last a lot longer. You also want to make sure that you label it well. You want to label the year of the harvest, when it was harvested, and the type of seed it is. Be as specific as you possibly can. If you know, like the heirloom, that it's not just a tomato. What kind of tomato is it? Is it a purple Russian? Is it an Amish paste? Is it a Brandywine yellow? Make sure that you specify on there as much as possible that it's not just a cantaloupe, it's an Athena cantaloupe. It's not just a cucumber, it's an English cucumber or a Boston pickling cucumber, because they're very different, and you want to make sure that when you go to plant it, you know what to expect it to become. It's also a great idea to do that because when you're doing seed exchanges or seed swaps with other friends who garden, then you know exactly what you're sending them. And you want them to have labeled well so that you know exactly what you're getting. Once I've stored them, I tend to sort them into bags based on the time I would begin planting them. So I have one Ziploc bag that is seeds that I start in early part of the year, late January, early February, so that as soon as it's warm enough to begin putting out things like peas and radishes and carrots and things like that, I have starters ready to go in the ground. And then I have the direct sow spring seeds, so that when I'm ready to plant those things, it's all right there, and I say, okay, these are the ones that go directly into the ground when I've passed the last frost date. And then I have direct sow fall seeds that are things that I just can immediately plant as soon as I pull some of the summer stuff that has finished out. And then I have seeds that I start in containers and then plant later in late summer for fall and winter planting. So those general categories help me to sort what I have and keep up with when it would be planted. There's a lot of times that I will take and dump all of them out, and I will sort them by herbs here and melons here and brassicas here and tomatoes here and those types of things. And especially when I'm getting ready to see how much can I get in the garden, how much space do I have left, sometimes I will just pull everything out and look at it and see, is there anything else that I could stick in this little space over here to grow something for this season. And last but not least, if you didn't have a garden this year and you're thinking, oh, this episode doesn't really apply to me because I didn't get to grow anything this year, or maybe you grew some things but it was just a bomb and it didn't go very well, and you don't have anything that you're harvesting that you could save seeds from, don't despair. There is still hope that you can save seeds. It's very easy to do the same things with produce you get at the store. Again, not worrying about F1 hybrids and open pollination and all those types of things. I am harvesting cantaloupe right now that I planted seeds from a cantaloupe I got last year at the local farm. I don't know where it was grown. I don't know if it was a hybrid or open pollinated or heirloom or whatever. I know it's a cantaloupe, and it is producing beautiful cantaloupe for me this year, and I'm very happy about it. So don't worry about where it's from if you have to buy the produce at the store. I say do the best you can with the resources you have. If you can afford to do organic produce and harvest seeds from those to save for next year, that's wonderful. If you can do organic local produce, that's even better, because again, those seeds are adapted to your area. But I say try at whatever level you're able to, and do the best you can with what you have. It may be that you can only find commercial produce at the store and you're saving seeds from those. It may be that you have locally grown organic produce from the farm that you can use. It may be that you have locally grown organic produce in your backyard that you can save seeds from. The point is, I want you to try to save some seeds. I want you to be ready for next spring and the possible seed shortages that are coming. And one other thing that I really want to share my heart with you today about: when you open up a Kajari melon, and inside that melon are close to 50, I would say probably even more than 50, probably closer to 100 seeds in one Kajari melon. Each one of those seeds produces a vine. Each one of those vines can produce several Kajari melons that each also have 100 or more seeds inside of them that can each produce more and more. I hope you see where I'm going with this. The potential growth is just explosive inside that one little seed. And seeds aren't the only thing that have potential explosive growth inside of them. We do too. The little thing that you have to share with the world is so important. And it's not just important to your family, and it's not just important to your friends or to your church. There are small things that the Lord has gifted us with that we can use, and He can grow them exponentially. He can make our growth and our impact explosive if only we're willing to plant the seed. So I want you to think this week about what your seed is. Maybe it's a talent you have, or a gifting. Maybe it's a natural bent towards hospitality. Maybe you love to create. Maybe you're really, really good at baking bread. Maybe you're a writer, or you have a heart for the elderly and you do a really good job serving with them. Maybe it's just that you show up and you're really good at being the person that shows up over and over again, no matter what. Be willing to plant your seeds. Plant seeds of kindness. Plant seeds of encouragement. Plant seeds of purpose. Be willing to do the things, no matter how small they seem, that God has called you to do. And then trust Him for the explosive growth and the huge impact, because He delights in doing just that. Thanks for stopping by, y'all. If you're inspired by what you've heard today, the best compliment you can give me is to share the Funky Farm Girl with your friends. You can stay connected by following the Funky Farm Girl on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until we meet again next week, remember to bloom where you're planted.